Mr. Chair, we do have a quorum, just barely, so I would give it another minute or two.
Sounds good.
All right, Mr. Chair, with 10:01, I'm showing 14 members on. Our quorum is 12, so we do have a quorum. We can go ahead and get started when you're ready.
Great, thanks, Steph. Good morning, everybody. Members of the MAG Transportation Committee, as a reminder, please turn your mics on and clearly state your name before speaking to ensure that members of the audience can hear you, and please mute your mics when not speaking to eliminate any feedback noise. Because this is a virtual meeting, a roll call vote will be taken for each action on the action item on the agenda. Phone only attendees will need to press *6 to unmute themselves. We will now begin the meeting with a roll call of all members.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, members of the TRC. I'm going to start at the top, alphabetical by last name. Shahid Abbas. Grant Anderson indicated he couldn't be here. Just making sure I'm not seeing him online. Okay, next up, Randy Babchuk. Keith Brown.
Here.
Thank you. Jason Crampton.
Here.
Keith Drunaski.
Here.
Thank you. Kristen Taylor for Eric Fitzer.
Here. I'm here.
Thank you, Kristen. Jorge Gastelum. Oh no, Bryce Christo for Jorge Gastelum. Stephanie Bubenheim for Jason Hafner.
Here.
Thank you. Henry Ikwit Ukwa. David Janover.
Here.
Keeney Knudsen.
Here.
Scott Lowe. Adina Lund.
Here.
Hal Marin.
Here.
Mark Melanchenko.
Here.
Chris Bridges for Sumit Mohan.
Here.
Paul Patney. Christopher Salas. Kathy Hollow for Shelley Seiler.
Here.
Thank you. Sean Snyder. Ed Stillings.
Here.
Bob Thaxton. Raj Thowdam.
Here.
Christopher Wanamaker. Steve Wilcox.
Present.
Thank you. Ted Wolf. Herschel Workman. Mohammed Youssef.
Here.
Thank you. And then Chair Zeter, you are here. Let me just make sure we have a quorum. All right, Mr. Chair, we do have a quorum with 17 members. Did I miss anyone in my roll call?
Randy Babchuk, City of Tolleson.
Thank you, Randy. Got you. Anyone else? Okay, make that 18 members, Mr. Chair. We can move on.
Thank you very much. Item number 2 is a call to the audience. This is an opportunity for public comments on the agenda that was provided ahead of the meeting. Steph, do we have any public comments?
Mr. Chair, we do not have any public comments for this item or any items on the agenda.
Great, thank you. Moving on to item number 3, Transportation Policy and Planning Director's Report. Tim Stroh, MAG Transportation Policy and Planning Director, will provide a report to the Transportation Review Committee on activities of general interest. Mr. Stroh.
Thank you, Chair Zeter. Good morning, members of the Transportation Review Committee. Hope everybody's doing fantastic this morning. I was going to welcome Eric Fitzer to the group, but he's not going to join this month. He has Kristen Taylor, his proxy, sitting in, so we'll welcome Eric next week. I do want to welcome Chris Bridges from the city of Goodyear. He sat on this committee as a proxy before, but he will be replacing Sumit Mohan on this committee. And we're going through the process of also approving him to become the new vice chair of TRC moving forward. First item for the group, as many of you are aware, Eric Anderson, our executive director, is retiring after a fantastic career. He has had a significant impact not only on MAG staff, myself, but also the region. He's been instrumental in Prop 400 and other initiatives. His last day of work at MAG is going to be July 1st. When Eric made his announcement to retire, the regional council selected Ed Zerker to become the next executive director of MAG. It started on March 6th. He will be working alongside Eric until his date of retirement. As many of you know, Eric had a long career with City of Phoenix, I think about 28 years. He served 8 years as the city manager. We're really excited to have Ed on board. Like I said, I think there's been several announcements in the paper and different websites announcing this change. So looking forward, like I said, working with Ed. He's been very busy working with Audra and John and Nathan on the extension of Prop 400. So good things to come. RARF revenue collections continue to start the year very, very strong. January collections were 22% higher than January the previous year. And February collections were 12.7% higher than February of 2022. So that's great news. Also on the HER front, collections were approximately 3% higher in January and 8% higher in February. So with all this inflation going on, anything positive is great for the transportation system. Next item, I would like to congratulate the city of Phoenix on their SMART grant award of almost $2 million for passive detection sensors for cyclists and pedestrian and hawk signals along Grand Canal. The region also won another SMART grant for about $1.7 million for the Drive Arizona project, which aims to demonstrate the effectiveness of connected vehicle applications and emerging 4G, 5G cellular-based vehicle-to-vehicle ecosystems to improve roadway safety and mobility. Specifically, the project intends to demonstrate backup queue warnings, work zone warnings, and traffic signal priority. Proposal is led by Arizona Commerce Authority, and there was a lot of additional members involved, including 2 universities, ASU, U of A, City of Phoenix, Valley Metro, Verizon, and a few others. Next item is Patrick Stone, the MAG TIP supervisor, wanted me to remind the committee that project status workbooks for federally funded fiscal year 24 and 25 projects are due on Friday, March 31st. If you have any questions on this item, please feel free to reach out to Patrick Stone after the meeting. And we continue to look for an opportunity to get the extension of Prop 400 to the voters, get it on a future ballot as soon as possible. We have a lot of things working behind the scenes. If you have any questions on this item, I encourage you to reach out to Audra or John with any questions. Mr. Chair, that completes my update.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 4, approval of the consent agenda. Items 4A through 4C are on the consent agenda. Are there any items members wish to be taken off of the consent agenda? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve consent items 4A through 4C?
So moved. This is Jason, City of Chandler.
Thanks, Jason. Is there a second?
Second, Mohammed Yusuf.
Thank you, Mohammed. We have a motion and a second. Steph, please call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Shahid Abbas. Randy Babchuk,
Aye.
Keith Brown,
Aye.
Jason Crampton,
Aye.
Keith Drenaski,
Aye.
Kristen Taylor,
Aye.
Bryce Christo, Stephanie Bubenheim,
Aye.
David Janover,
Aye.
Keeney Knudsen,
Aye.
Adina Lund,
Aye.
Hal Marin,
Aye.
Mark Melanchenko,
Aye.
Chris Bridges,
Aye.
Kathy Hollow,
Aye.
Ed Stillings.
I'm a non-voting
Oh,
member.
that's right. Thank you. Sorry for that. Thank you for the reminder. Raj Thoughtam,
Aye.
Steve Wilcox.
Aye.
Thank you. Mohammed Youssef
Aye.
and Chair Zeter. How do you vote? Is there anyone I missed in my roll call?
Sorry about that. I vote aye. I think I was muted.
That's okay. Thank you, Chair. Anyone else I missed?
Yeah, this is Ron Gritmans, sitting in for Chris Salas with Town of Florence.
Oh, thank you, Ron.
And this is Henry Equid with Valley Metro, and I vote aye.
Good morning, Henry. Thank you.
Good morning.
All right, Mr. Chair, this motion passes unanimously.
Great, thank you. Moving on to item number 5, project scope modification request, City of Maricopa, Anderson Road, and Peters and Null Road. Item number 5 on the agenda will be presented by Patrick Stone, MAG Transportation Improvement Program Supervisor. This item is on the agenda for action. Mr. Stone.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of TRC. Good morning. Pleasure to be here. Before I turn the presentation over to the City of Maricopa, just wanted to kind of orient why this item is in front of you today. The MAG Federal Fund Programming Guidelines, last approved in June of 2015, do require that certain scope changes to projects do go back through the committee process, starting at the technical committee all the way up through the policy committees. This item was heard this month at Street Committee. It's now before you at TRC. Reason being that we have a change in the project length exceeding a quarter mile, so our programming guidelines then require this to go through that process. And with that, I will turn this presentation over to Ms. Tammy Valadez-Paz with the City of Maricopa. Tammy?
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. Are you able to hear me? Yes, all right, thank you. My name is Tammy Valadez-Paz. I am the engineering project manager here at the City of Maricopa. I'm going to go over the city's project scope modification request for Anderson Road and Peters and Null Road. Next slide, please. All right, some history here. Anderson and Peters and Null roads are both unpaved roadways. The city staff applied for MAG funding and was awarded that funding as a part of the 2017 call for projects to pave Anderson Road and a portion of Peters and Null Road. The original project was advertised for construction in the fall of 2022, and we received only one bid. However, after review by ADOT staff, the bid was determined to be unresponsive, and the Staff Transportation Board approved the recommendation to reject the bid. That was last December. A developer has recently approached the city about developing land adjacent to Peters and Null Road, and they will be responsible to pave a portion of Peters and Null Road that was in the original scope. The developer plans to pave Peters and Null Road from Antoine Street to 0.3 miles to the east, which will reduce the length of this project by 0.3 miles. Next slide, please. As a result, the city is requesting to change the limits of the project on Peters and Null Road from Anderson Road to 0.2 miles west of Anderson Road. And the overall project length will be reduced from 1.5 miles to 1.2 miles. Next slide, please. The design has been complete and construction is scheduled to begin this year and will be completed by December of this year. The city wants to thank you for your support with this request, and that concludes my presentation. Does anybody have any questions?
All right, hearing that there are no questions, is there a motion to recommend approval of the project scope modification request for the city of Maricopa, Anderson Road, and Peters and Nile Road project?
This is Dave Janover. I make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Hal Marin, I second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Steph, please call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Randy Babchuk,
Aye.
Keith Brown,
Aye.
Jason Crampton,
Aye.
Keith Drenaski,
Aye.
Kristen Taylor,
Aye. Sorry about that. Aye.
that's all right, thank you. Stephanie Bubenheim,
Aye.
Henry Ikwit Ukwa,
I vote aye.
thank you. David Janover,
Aye.
Heaney Knutson,
Aye.
Adina Lund,
Aye.
Hal Marin,
Aye.
Mark Melanchenko,
Aye.
Chris Bridges,
Aye.
Christopher Salas, or he had a proxy, I think.
Yeah, Ron Gritman. I
Ron
vote aye.
Gritman. Thank you, Ron. Kathy Hollow,
Aye.
Raj Thoughtam,
Aye.
Steve Wilcox,
Aye.
Mohammed Youssef.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. This motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you. Moving
Thank you.
on to item number 6, Regional Competitive Program System Management and Operations, Fiscal Year 2025 Project Selection. Item number 6 on the agenda will be presented by Jeff Jenk, MEG TMSO Program Manager. This item is on the agenda for action.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, member of the TRC. My name is Jeff Jenk. I'm the Transportation System Management and Operations, also known as ITS, Program Manager. So this item is, next slide, please. This item is to request committee's approval of the recommended project from the recently completed SMNO, which stand for System Management and Operations TIP call for projects. So let me give you a little overview of this TIP call for project. The funding year is meant to be 2025. We have a total available funding of about $9.4 million. And based on the MAC System Management and Operation Plan established and approved by Management Council in 2018, these fundings are available in 2 priority areas. Specifically, integrated corridor management that deal with the coordinations between the freeway and the arterial, and as well as the local priority corridors. And this call for project was robustly evaluated based on established methodology approved by the ITS committee. That include the quantitative data based on the project attributes, as well as qualitative data contributed by the member agencies. We also have air quality scores that's conducted by the MAC Air Quality Group because this is the CMAC funding. We have the presentation score as well as the bonus score in promoting the project teaming. Next slide, please. So within these 2 categories, we received 7 applications for the first category, integrated corridor management. The total funding request is 6.4, and the budget is only $4 million. The local priority corridor, we received 17 applications for a total ask of $9.1 million with available budget of $5.4 million. Next slide, please. For the first category, integrated corridor management, as you could see that there is a red line that indicates the budget cut line. So we are able to fund 4 projects incomplete. And the 5th project, as you could see, the one above the cut line is only partially funded. Next slide, please. This is the second category of the local priority corridors. We received 17 applications. That red line indicated that we have 9 projects that can be fully funded, and the 10th project, the Queen Creek project, is only partially funded. Next slide, please. So I would like to propose the funding scenario for the committee's considerations. For the first category, the funding scenario is to fund the top 4 projects, and the 5th partially funded project, we already follow up with Maricopa County and they agreed to accept the partial funding. For the second category, local priority corridor, the funding scenario is to fund the top 9 projects and partially funded the 10th ranked project, Queen Creek project. Again, Queen Creek has agreed to accept the partial funding. With that, I would like to pause for any questions that you might have.
Are there any questions? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to recommend approval of the prioritized listing of FY 2025 system management and operation projects and proposed funding scenario?
So moved. This is Henry.
Thank you, Henry.
I'll
We have-
second. Kathy Hollow.
Thank you. We have a motion, a second. Steph, please call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Randy Babchuk,
Aye.
Keith Brown,
Aye.
Jason Crampton,
Aye.
Keith Janaski,
Aye.
Kristen Taylor,
Aye.
Stephanie Bubenheim,
Aye.
Henry Ikwit Ukwa,
Aye.
David Janover,
Aye.
Heaney Knudsen,
Aye.
Adina Lund,
Aye.
Hal Marin,
Aye.
Mark Melanchenko,
Aye.
Chris Bridges,
Yes.
Ron Gritman,
Aye.
Kathy Hollow,
Aye.
Raj Thowdam,
Aye.
Steve Wilcox,
Aye.
Mohammed Youssef,
Aye.
and RJ Zeter.
I vote aye.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The motion passes unanimously.
Great, thank you. Moving on to item number 7, updates to the MAG Regional Competitive Program Design Assistance Evaluation Process. Item number 7 on the agenda will be presented by Kay Bork, MAG Transportation Planning Project Manager. This item is on the agenda for action. Ms. Bork.
Thank you, Chair and members of the TRC. My name's Kay Bork, and I'm the Transportation Planning Project Manager with MAG. And today I will be presenting some proposed revisions to MAG's Design Assistance Project evaluation and scoring questions. And this is on your agenda for action today. Before I review the proposed revisions, I'd like to give a very brief background on MAG's Design Assistance Program. Next slide, please. The Design Assistance Program was established in 1996 to support the implementation of bike and ped projects in the region. Projects are now solicited through a competitive call for projects to MAG member agencies who are seeking funds for preliminary engineering and design for active transportation projects. Regional Council has programmed $500,000 in federal funds annually. And submitted projects are evaluated and scored by members of the MAG Active Transportation Committee and are awarded funding by MAG Regional Council. And I just want to note that projects are submitted and scored using MAG's online project portal. Next slide, please. So over the past couple of years, staff have received feedback and comments from the MAG Active Transportation Committee on the evaluation process, or on the evaluation and scoring process. And in response, staff reviewed the scoring and evaluation tools for improvement. The first step for staff was to conduct a statistical analysis of project scoring for the last 3 funding cycles. And we did find that 3 questions stood out and showed a significant variability in scoring, which needed to be addressed. And while we were addressing those issues, staff took the opportunity to evaluate all the questions and for areas of improvement. The intent of the revisions are meant to address the initial feedback from the committee that the evaluation process lacked clarity and that questions were left open to varying interpretations. The revisions are also meant to add clarity, provide guidance to member agencies when they're preparing their own applications for submittal and when scoring other applications. The revisions are meant to provide greater predictability on the potential scoring performance of a project that is being submitted for review. We think by providing better clarity and guidance, the revisions will maximize the benefits of the design assistance program. Next slide, please. This table shows the existing and proposed scoring questions and associated points. The scoring questions that are highlighted in blue, those are questions 1, 3, and 6. These are the ones that show the greatest variability in scoring after running the statistical analysis. So I will be reviewing those 3 questions in my presentation because they had the most significant revisions. I just want to note there are no changes to the remaining scoring questions, except that there is a scoring interval that's been added to each question to provide the clarity and guidance requested by the Active Transportation Committee. So the full set of revisions, again, are attached to your transmittal summary. Next slide, please. Question 1, this project meets the intent of the Design Assistance Program. Proposed revisions to this question include the addition of a scoring interval that utilizes the 4 guiding principles from our Regional Active Transportation Plan. And these principles provide guidance on creating high quality active transportation facilities. And it also grounds the intent of the Design Assistance Program in the guiding principles of our Regional Active Transportation Plan. And this plan was acted upon and approved by Regional Council. Next slide, please. Question 1, proposed scoring includes the 4 guiding principles, and those are the scoring intervals that are added to the question, and that addresses connectivity, safety, comfort, equity, and inclusion. So each principle is worth 0 to 5 points for a maximum of 20 points. Next slide, please. Question number 3, again, this is one of the questions that showed a significant variation in scoring. And the Active Transportation Committee agreed that this question lacked guidance on what it actually means for a project to serve the region. The committee also expressed concern that the outlying communities don't necessarily have the same opportunity to implement projects with regional impact. In the end, the Active Transportation Committee agreed that this question could be eliminated, and it is now addressed with revised question 1, which incorporates the guiding principles of the Active Transportation Plan, and by existing question number 10. And question number 10 is an automatically scored question. A project receives 10 points if it is located within the high-ranking street corridors or the regional conduits that are identified in the Active Transportation Plan. And a regional conduit is generally the multi-use paths along the canals. Next question, please. Or sorry, next slide, please. Question number 6. The committee also agreed that this question lacked clarity and guidance. Currently, percentages for each of the demographics associated with this question are auto-calculated for a proposed project boundary. but there was no context associated with that number, and you don't know whether it's high or low for the region or for that particular city. So the revised question now is automatically calculated and scored using the Title VI Communities of Concern demographic methodology, and I'll explain that in the next slide. But we want to highlight that this scoring method moves the question towards a more performance-based scoring methodology. Next slide, please. So a community of concern is characterized by select demographics that are equal to or greater than a benchmark percentage that has been identified for the region. And so we are using the same concept by calculating the percentage for each demographic characteristics within a project boundary. And 4 points are automatically given to each demographic characteristic that is equal to or greater than the MAG planning area average. And for this question, a project can receive a maximum of 20 points. And as discussed in your transmittal summary, these population characteristics are associated with those more likely to utilize active transportation. Next question, or next slide, please. I just want to reiterate that the questions are reviewed in the PowerPoint are those that show the greatest variability in scoring and had the most significant changes. The full set of proposed revisions are included as an attachment in your transmittal summary. The Active Transportation Committee recommended approval of the full set of proposed revisions at their February meeting. And with that, that concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you, Chair.
Oh, thank you. Are there any questions from Ms. Bork before we move on to entertaining a motion?
This is Adina Lund. I have a question, please.
Please go ahead.
Yes, I would like a little bit of an explanation as far as the equity and inclusion for 5 points under question 1 and how it's different from the question 6, which seems to also cover those areas in auto scores. I just need a little clarification, please.
Sure, thank you very much for the question. So equity inclusion in question number 1 is associated, it includes an interval score where a project can receive 5 points. And these equity inclusion really address equity and inclusion for the region. The demographic question is more associated with a specific project area. So there, when an applicant submits a project, the project area is automatically drawn, and those demographics are they're associated with that particular project.
Did that answer your question?
It's still not explicitly clear to me, but luckily I will not be on the committee that has to score it. So thank you very much for the presentation today.
All right,
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments before we entertain a motion? Hearing none, is there a motion to recommend approval of revisions to the design assistance evaluation process?
So moved.
I'm sorry, who's this?
Henry.
Thank you, Henry. Henry, there's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Adina Lund, I will second the motion.
Thank you, Adina. We have a motion and a second. Staff will now call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. 4th and final time through this roll call. So thanks, or actually 5th and final time. Starting with Randy Babchuk.
Aye.
Thank you. Keith Brown.
Aye.
Jason Crampton.
Aye.
Keith Drenaski.
Aye.
Kristen Taylor.
Aye.
Stephanie Bubenheim.
Aye.
Thank you. Henry Ikwit Ukwa.
Aye.
David Janover.
Aye.
Keeney Knutson.
Aye.
Adina Lund.
Aye.
Hal Marin.
Aye.
Mark Melanchenko.
Aye.
Ron Gritman.
Aye.
Kathy Hollow.
Aye.
Raj Thoughtam.
Aye.
Steve Wilcox.
Aye.
Mohammed Youssef.
Aye.
And Mr. Chair, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The motion passes unanimously.
Great, thank you. Moving on to item number 8, member agency updates. Are there any announcements by TRC members? All right, hearing none, moving on to item number 9, request for future agenda items. Are there any requests by a TRC member for a future agenda item? All right, hearing none, we are adjourning this meeting at 10:35 a.m. And thank you all for participating. We'll see you at the next meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you all.